everyone. I hope that you had a great week. So last week, just to recap, we were working in Module 2, Week 3, which was specifically about IDEA. You had a worksheet that I wanted you to complete, and I wanted to just talk about that for a moment. So last week, really looked at the IDEA Nearpod lesson, which was really an interactive PowerPoint presentation that really guided you through the different parts of IDEA. Specifically, last week we were looking at the 6 core principles of IDEA. Inside of your Tennessee Special Education Framework, you're going to see where it talks about procedural safeguards, because I had some questions about that. So that's something that is important, and you'll find that underneath the parent and family rights, as well as in your text of a Teacher's Guide to Special Education. So both the Tennessee Special Education Framework as well as a Teacher's Guide to Special Education is really going to help you when looking into IDEA. So the 6 principles of IDEA, you're going to see this on our first test. So this is why I wanted you to complete this worksheet. Another thing that you will be looking at is the major provisions of IDEA. Specifically talking about not only the procedural safeguards, but it's talking about any provisions that are under IDEA, and there are 6 of them that you will have to know, so make sure that you look at those. If you look down here, another thing of IDEA was talking about the different parts. Specifically, we're talking about Part B and Part C, and I really want us to look at what age group does this part serve. Okay, so and then we will be looking at Section 619 of Part B. So make sure that you know that as well. So those are 2 things I just kind of want to throw your attention to. I did put some more information in this week 4 for you about IDEA. Specifically, if you were to look at the Q&A about IDEA, it will give you some great information as well to help you study for your exam. So let's go ahead and dive into week 4. So this week we're really going to be looking at family engagement and how do you create lasting partnerships and collaborative partnerships with parents who have children with disabilities. So our objective really is going to be identifying the unique needs of parents of children with disabilities and how that may impact teacher-parent collaboration. So as you can see here in the course outcomes, and this is underneath our overview outcome and keywords, you're going to see our different course outcomes and how this is related to our course outcomes. So this week you're going to be reading some articles, you're going to be looking at some different web pages, resources. We're going to be diving into the Tennessee Special Education Framework and looking at Chapter 4 and reading that in our Exceptional Learners, which is really going to talk specifically about parents and families. As far as our assignments, you are going to be completing an IRIS module that is going to really help walk you through and highlight information as far as how do we have successful partnerships and collaborate with parents. And I will show you that just in a moment. And then you're going to be also completing what we call a STEP assignment. And this is a wonderful resource for teachers and parents, and we'll look at that in just a second. Now, in my course, you have 4 RADs that you have to complete, reading assignment discussions, but I gave you the first one for week 2, and I chose the article for you. I said for the other 3, you get to choose when you'd want to complete that article. Well, every time there is an option for you to complete a RAD, I will let you know. So this week you have an option to complete this. So it will be talking specifically about guidelines for you as a teacher and how you can get parents involved and how you can collaborate with them to help support those children. Support the children with special needs, or even anyone in your classroom for that matter. So some key takeaways this week, we're really going to be looking at what does family center model mean. And I have underneath the assignments, I included a video, a Connect video. It's from Ann Turnbull, and she really talks about her model of family professional partnerships and what does that mean. So this is really going to be a key concept for you. Also, I wanted us to know what due process hearing means and how does that affect parents and what is the purpose of that, and the parents' rights, which a lot of that you're going to find underneath the Tennessee Special Education Framework, where it discusses the parents' rights. We also have the Parent Training Center, PTI, and then Community Parent Resource Centers, CPRCs. What do they stand for and how do they help you? So I actually provided you up here with a resource that talks about PTIs and CPRCs and how you as a teacher can use this to help parents and provide this as a resource for them. So, excuse me. So what you're going to be looking at turning in to me is going to be this step assignment, of course, but you will be completing the IRIS module as well. So let's go ahead and dive into what week 4 is going to be about and what I want you to do. So as I mentioned, you're going to be reading from the Exceptional Learners textbook, and you're going to be reading chapter 4, which solely focuses on parents and families. There's a lot of great information in there. The thing that I want you to really take away from chapter 4 is when you're looking at, I want you to really pay attention to the effects on families. So when they are given that information, or when they're given that their child has disabilities and then they diagnosed, what is the process they go through? What's their reactions? And how does this affect them? I also, in the textbook, want you to pay close attention to what are the social supports for families put in place? What should you as a teacher do to make sure that they are supported? So I also want you to look at, in table 4.1 in the text, there is a really good table in there, and it's really talking, it's on page 76 in the text, and it's talking about how do you as a teacher communicate, not only with parents, but as a practitioner, how do you communicate with them, and how does the parent communicate with all the staff, practitioners, and teachers at the school. So we also concentrate on what does family-centered model mean. So we talked about that being a key concept or idea this week. So what does that mean? We've got the Connect video, but also we talk about it inside of our text. So what does the family-centered model look like? How does this apply to you? And what are some of the recommendations in this model? So this starts on page 7 in your text. So those are just some things I wanted to point out that I wanted you to take notes and pay attention to in this week's readings. So I mentioned the special education framework. The link is there, so when you open it up, it'll look like this. You're only going to be reading pages 11 through 17. And specifically, it starts with student and parent involvement, and then on page 15, it talks about those procedural safeguards. Now remember, that's part of those 6 core principles of IDEA, so it's important for you to be able to connect that back, because these are things you're going to see on the test. So make sure you read pages 11 through 17. Okay, here's the video that I talked to you about. This is going along with your text, chapter 4 in Exceptional Learners, where it talks about the family-centered model and how do you create successful partnerships and what would that framework look like. So make sure that you look at that video as well. I always provide transcripts for my videos, so if you are a read-write learner and you're not really a visual or audio, then this will allow you to get the same information from the video, so that's there for you as well. Now, I did provide you with some resources. Some of these are the ones that's included links inside of week 4. So that's there for you in more than one place. So that's what that means for you to look at that and to keep those. Now, I did provide you with 2 PowerPoints. So one PowerPoint's talking about the parent rights. Now, this is connecting to what we've read in our textbook and a Teacher's Guide to Special Education, but it also talks about connecting to the Tennessee Special Education Framework, specifically the procedural safeguards put in place, but also also, what are their rights under IDEA as a parent who has a child with disabilities, which we learned about in week 3. And then we have another PowerPoint there for you to look at that's talking about how do you collaborate with parents. Now, I wanted to show you the articles and some of the resources that I said that you would need to take part in and do this week. So the first thing I want to show you was that Connect video. So this is the link I showed you earlier. So you're going to watch this. It's not very long. It's only 3 minutes and 20 seconds. So the transcript is underneath too if you want to read that. And I also provided there with you inside the course. So that's something you're going to be watching and specifically paying attention to what does the framework look like for family professional partnerships. Thinking back to that family-centered model from chapter 4 in the textbook. Then this is really going to just connect with what we learned in week 3. And I said in this class it's very fluid. A lot of things connect. You'll see it more than one time. This is also going to be something you'll see on the test, talking about part B and part C of IDEA. So this specific part that I gave you is not only talking about parent participation, but we're looking at part B of IDEA. So it explains about it, the requirements, what are the parents' rights. So just make sure that you look at what does that mean when we talk about prior written notice. What is it talking about? How do the parents find out about meetings so they can attend them, whether it's an IEP meeting or any purpose that has to do with that child's education, or maybe when you are having an IEP meeting, but you want to communicate things with them as well. What is not a meeting? And who's going to provide parents with prior written notice? What information should be included? What else should I know that's important? So what are the IDEA provisions? Okay, we talked that there were 6 major provisions. And again, you're going to see procedural safeguards there for you. What are they talking about? So just make sure that you're going through and looking at this article, because you're going to see a lot of information on the test from this. And then it talks a little bit about CPIR and what that means, and how that relates to the IDEA Part B. We already showed you the special education framework, which you'll be looking at specifically parent procedural safeguards, which you'll see on the test, and also student and parent involvement, which is pages 11 through 17. Here is another one that goes back to those major provisions, are also known as formal approach. So sometimes there comes a point with teachers or schools and parents where they don't agree, okay, and there's some issues that's affecting their child's education. It could be something to do with revising the IEP, or it could be with their goals, reviewing and revising it, or holding a meeting where the parent was not notified. So there's lots of different reasons why a parent in a school system or a parent and teacher may disagree. So their IDEA put several approaches for parents to help them resolve the dispute. Okay, so we of course have the informal approaches, but we also have the formal approaches. And underneath here, when we talk about mediation and due process and filing a state complaint, all these are part of those provisions of IDEA put in place for those parents' rights. Okay, so make sure you pay attention to that, because you will see that on the test. The other thing that we mentioned was a really great resource, and I have some notes written down here for you to really pay attention when you're reading these PTIs, CPRCs, because this also is something I'm going to test you on in quiz 1. So this resource is really good because it's just this publication is really discussing what are PTIs and CPRCs, how are they relevant to special education, and how can they help parents, and what kind of resource is this. Okay, so obviously we know that PTI is Parent Training and Information Center, and then CPRCs are Community Parent Resource Centers. What is the difference between the two? So when you're reading the article, what kind of resource is Parent Training Information Centers? What do they do? What does the CPRCs do? How do they differ? When would a parent need to call PTIs or CPRCs? What should parents know about them? And how can they help parents who have children with special needs? Okay, what do they conduct? What are the parent training centers doing? What kind of meetings are they holding? We also look at if they have to pay for these services, and we want to look at what kind of resources are available to them. And if the child is not getting specific instruction or getting the services they need, even though they have an IEP or IFSP in place, then how can we help them? So that's kind of the publication here. The main takeaway is to really understand what the two are, how are they different, how are they like, and what you should know about each one. That way you can help parents connect to these as a resource so they can help support the parent and the child. So the next part is going to be your assignments. Like I said, you have, and guys, I also wanted to just reiterate that in our course, you can always email me, you can call and leave me a message, you can set up a meeting to meet with me in Teams or in person. But I also have something that's called questions about the course. If you have any questions, you can see here, a lot of this had to do with like service learning, but you can ask me any questions about anything that we're doing. And in each week, I have questions about the course there for you. So you can just write a question if you didn't understand something about week 4 assignment or week 4 content. So that's available for you always. And I usually get and try to check that every 2 to 3 days. If you need a faster response, probably email is the way to go because I check those every day. Now, the assignments this week, you have 2, but you're only going to submit 1 for assessment. So, and then there'll be 2 if you decide to choose this as one of your RADs. So remember, RADs are really reading assignment discussions. I provide you with articles, and then you are going to complete a discussion post after you read the article. So what I'm looking for is when you're finished reading the article, I want your understanding. So you're picking out the 2 or 3 most important concepts, and each RAD's going to use the same 3 prompts. What are you not clear on or want to ask more about? Or maybe it was confusing that you read it and maybe you aren't understanding what they meant by it. And then the last one is, what would you like to ask your classmates about their understanding or thoughts? And that last one really is to help drive a discussion with the class. Now, as you can see, I have went in and changed the dates. There's still due dates for the discussion boards and for the RADs, but I left them open until December 1st because I go in and give you feedback, I reply to your post, and I want everyone to be able to see that. So that's why I changed the date, but it still has the same due date, being due on Sunday night of the week of September, let me look, I think it's September 23rd, 24th. So Sunday, September 24th, it will be due. But it's open and available till then, so you can always go back and look at my feedback and my replies to you. So you can choose to do the RAD. You don't have to do the specific article. You may find another one that connects a little bit better to you or what you want to connect with. I always try to choose something that I find interesting, a topic specifically. So if there's an article and you looked at the RAD articles and you decide that maybe this one's not for you, then you don't have to do it. But you do have to complete 4 in total. So everyone completed week 2. I gave you the article. You didn't have a choice, but you do have on the other 3. Something I'm going to assess you on is the STEP website. So I wanted to go ahead and go over that. So the STEP website is a really good support resource, or a resource support for parents and for teachers. So what you can do is, I provided you with a link to the STEP website. It's going to open in a new window. It has lots of informational packets in there about different subject matter as far as pertaining to special education. So what you're going to do is, when you get in there, you're going to click on an article, and I'm going to show you the steps to get to the articles because it's a little confusing. Once you choose your article and you read it, you're going to click on the link called Padlet, and this will automatically take you to Padlet, which is a tool we use where you can post, like, it's almost like a Pinterest board, if you will, but it has to do with education. So you can post images and your thoughts. And I have a prompt there and some questions that you're going to answer that has to do with your article from the SPED website. So I'm going to click on the site. So what you're going to see, to get to the articles, when you first get in, you're not going to see any articles. So what you're going to have to do is at the very top, you have some tabs. You're going to hover over where it says support and training. Okay, and if you ever get lost, I make a note of this here. From the menu bar at the top of the page, hover over support and training and select information library. So that's always there in case you get stuck, you forget what I say, or you can refer back to this video. But you click on information library, and you can see here that it gives you a little information about the resources. I only want you to choose the ones that say free. Okay, you do not purchase anything. You should not be asked to purchase one, and I'm going to walk you through and show you what it would look like if you were going to choose a certain article. So once you do it, you should have access right away. So you don't request a print copy or anything like that. Everything should be electronic. So let's say that I wanted to choose the autism packet. So I'm going to click on it. Okay. And then you'll see a description. So if you're not sure if you want to click on it and download it, you can read what it says first, just to give you an idea. So this is a synopsis about what it's about. Then you're going to click here to download this packet. If it's free, it should come up automatically. And if it asks you to put in credit card information, that means it's not free. You need to choose a different article. So you can open it and download it. You're going to read the article. It takes a minute to pull up. You're going to read the article, and as you can see, it gets started. It's just taking a minute to load. But you'll read the article or the publication, and after you get done and you're making notes, remember when you're sitting down and you're reading it, I want you to take notes of what the most important concepts are, what your questions are, maybe future thoughts about how this is going to relate to you in the future as a classroom teacher. So make those kinds of notes as you're reading. Then you're going to click on the link called Padlet. Now, it'll take you directly to the Padlet. Now, you'll see there are some posts already. These posts are from earlier students that I've had in the past. This is just to give you an idea of what it would look like if you were going to do a post. You see some have images, some don't. What you're going to do is you're going to share your information packet. So when you're including information, it's important for you to write like a short description. I don't want you to copy and paste the article. I don't want you to put another article in there. Think about a Pinterest board. It's captured with images, right? So you can pull images from the web, but if you do that, you need to make sure you cite it. You also need to make sure that you're discussing the important things about the article, what stood out to you. So if someone were to say, hey, what is the ADHD article about? Then you would be able to provide information. When you're reading these articles, it's important, like I said, to think about your own classroom. How would you incorporate this into your own classroom? So give me some ideas. And then any questions that maybe that you were left with after you read it, or questions you would have for other people. So that's what I'm looking for, and you can put images in there as well. Okay, so when you click on it and you want to add a new post, you would hit the plus, and then you would put the subject. So what I want you to make sure you do, because in the past I've had students not do this, is to put your last name and then put your first and last name and then put the title of your article. Okay, and then you'll see here, you can upload files, you can upload photos, you can upload links. So if you find something that's connected to yours that you want to put, you can put it in there. You can link the article. You can search for an image that's related to that. And you even have an option for more attachments. But think of it like a Pinterest board with information and images. So that's what I'm looking for in this. So that's all you would need to do to make sure you're ready to write a post. You would just hit plus, and don't forget to put your name and the name of the article. Now, once you write it, and it's not going to let me right now, you'll look at here, it says publish. Once you start putting your name and subject and you add in your images and stuff and answer the questions that I asked you to answer in the prompts, you should be able to hit publish. When you hit publish, it's going to post it on here for everyone to see. So just make sure that you look at that. So that's what you're going to be assessed. This is worth 25 points. I don't want you to copy and paste. I don't want you to reiterate everything. Think about the prompts kind of like you do when you do reading assignment discussions, right? You're picking the most thoughts, important thoughts you have on it, the things that you took away from it, the important ideas and concepts, something you learned from it. How is this going to be connected to you as a future teacher? What are your thoughts? Give me some strategies of how you can use this information as a future teacher in your own classroom. So I'm looking for those sorts of things. And if you pick a strategy that you could use with it, maybe throw an image in there. So I want you to make sure that you are putting some effort into this project. I did provide you with a Nearpod quiz review. I give these to you sometimes. It's a great study tool. You don't have to submit anything. It's not going to be graded. It's just for you to get feedback about how you are doing with the content for the week. And I said the last thing that you will have to do, and this is not what you're going to be graded on, but it will help you in terms of studying. So you have in here in the course called a module, an IRIS module. Okay, so if you'll look in the overview, this is where you'll find it. In the overview, there's something called an IRIS module. And this is specifically talking about collaborating with families, family engagement. So when you get in here and you scroll down, and remember we're under overview, you scroll down, you're going to see IRIS module, family engagement. You're going to go through the IRIS module. Remember, we did the first one when we were talking about perceptions of those who have disabilities, what your perception words, person first. So you're going to use the same tool here, the same developmental tool. You are going to go through, you're going to do the assessment at the end. After you go through the module, you'll see I have a note sheet here for you. This note sheet you can use and have it. I would suggest having it pulled up as you're working through the module. And this is just going to give you a really good study guide. And then when you get done, you're going to keep this and save this. You will not submit it to me. Okay, so the only thing you're actually going to be completing is your STEP website. So when you do your assignment in the STEP assignment, I want to go back to it just a minute to reiterate something. When you do your autism, like say you chose autism for your STEP website, once you're in Padlet, you don't actually have to submit anything else to Dropbox. There's not a Dropbox for this. I will grade everything inside of Padlet, just like I did with the book that you created for Book Creator and Historical Figures assignment. You will not submit anything. You will use the link I gave you for Padlet, and I will go inside of it and grade it. So just make sure that you're aware you won't be submitting it anywhere except for Padlet. That is what I want us to get out of week 4. This is a very important week for content, because this is really going to help you in terms of how do you create those successful partnerships with parents, and how can you support them? What do you need to know? What do you need to be able to do? All right, guys, I know that was a lot of information, but I hope you found it helpful. I did want to remind you, if you have not, most people have turned in their service learning documents. A lot of people are starting to get placed as far as having permission. Remember, even if I've emailed you and I said, okay, you have permission from the district or the principal to move forward, that doesn't mean you have the green light. You still have to get the green light from me. This just means you're almost there. After we get the referral confirmation and the all clear, then you can begin your hours. But if you're still lacking things or you have any questions, feel free to reach out to me. All right, guys, I hope you have a great week, and I will talk to you next time. Take care.